What is it that so beautifully unites Israel and the United States? Check out this clip over here, this interview with Bibi Netanyahu on Fox News. And he's going to share something, he's going to share a perspective, and then we'll add something perhaps to the discussion. So let's watch this clip together and then talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. Love to stay in touch. Check this out.
I sat down with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last night at the Blair House in Washington to discuss the extraordinary month and a half the Israelis and the U.S. has had against Iran. I also talked about the markets in Israel and how they were so strong throughout the conflict. Watch.
You know, it was extraordinary to me to watch the stock market in Israel trade at all-time highs.
It's like a vertical wall.
Even in the midst of all of this. Give us some perspective about Israel today and where things are going after the tragic events of October 7th, after all of the fighting and the conflicts. And then I want to ask you about whether or not you can get back to startup nation, entrepreneurship, innovation.
We never left it.
Aren't those people now in the reserve?
Oh, yeah, but the Army. Well, first let's understand, there are two innovation nations in the world. One is called the United States of America, and the other is called Israel. These are engines of innovation, of creativity, of entrepreneurship that are enormous. Now, Israel wasn't always that way. I had to lead a free market revolution, first as a finance minister with 100 reforms, just to take us away from the semi-socialist economy that we had and unleash the genius of our people and the innovative spirit, and we did that. And if you had visited Tel Aviv 20 years ago, 22 years ago, there was one high-rise, one skyscraper there. Today, there's a forest. And I remember when I took on the job of finance minister, my boy was a little young boy. He said, "Daddy, look at the skyline in Tel Aviv, and look at the skyline in New York. I mean, we're never going to be like that." And I said, "Well, relax, son. Your father is going to be the finance minister, and you'll see that will happen." And if you look at the skyline in Tel Aviv today, it's a remarkable change. And that's basically the unleashing of free market powers of capitalism, okay? So once we did that with 100 reforms, exactly that happened. And what happened is that we used the technological capability that is built in our army. The military produces technology. You just saw that. You saw the greatest technology. Intel, weaponry, precision, I don't want to even talk about it, okay? AI, you name it, all come to the fore and achieve this remarkable victory. That's Israeli technology. That technology that was embedded in our military, the minute we liberated the market forces, burst out into the startup nation. So the fact that you have reservists, yeah, we have reservists, but believe me, they're working in the army while they're there to make even greater inventions that nobody can imagine. Today we signed here, right here in the Blair House, an AI agreement between America and Israel, the two most innovative societies on the planet. And boy, is that going to be big. And AI has, well, incredible potential. We became one of the two preeminent cyber powers in the world, small Israel. It's gigantic in terms of brain power, in terms of initiative, and so on.
Where does that leave China?
Well, I think, where does it leave the free world? You want the free societies to have the most advanced, cutting-edge technology on Earth. And I think we do. And I think the reason the stock market is going up, you have to compare two stock markets. Look at the Iranian stock market and look at the Israeli stock market. They're...
And the American stock market.
And the American stock market. And you know what? It's related. Those are, in Iran, it's below the floorboards. In Israel, it's vertical. In America, it's shooting up because of the things that people have confidence. They have confidence in the future. They have confidence in innovation. And you know that the products of the mind change. Well, the conceptual products are so, the value added there is so enormous. But we're also looking at other things. We're looking at oil and gas and the possibility of opening up energy markets, opening up communication markets, opening up trade routes in the Middle East, opening up the trade routes between Asia, India, and Europe, going through the Arabian Peninsula, right through through Israel. I mean, it changes the whole thing. This thing, the markets aren't stupid. They're pretty smart. Political markets don't adjust quite as quickly as the economic markets. Economic markets enjoy collective wisdom and rapid wisdom. Political markets take a little longer, but they adjust too. And I have great confidence in the future. And the partnership that I have with President Trump, the partnership that the American people have with Israel, the many friends and alliances that we can make in our region with our friends, and the fact that the great majority of American people did not buy into this silliness of Third World War and, whatever, all these other warnings that came from peculiar corners of the American polity.
I don't know where they came from, actually. I'm wondering if they were outside agitators in many cases. But I do want to ask you about your message to young people, because as we sit here, we're hearing sirens outside and protesters outside.
Yeah, so
anti-Semitism on college campuses.
The best protesters and anti-Semitism that money can buy. A lot of it is bought, a lot of it is directed by various NGOs and by outside forces, and I don't think it holds. I just don't think it holds. It's a media campaign, it's influencer campaign, but reality is stronger. You build the future on reality and on hope. You don't build it on falsehoods and despair. We have an achievement of a great victory, a historic victory, and the movement that none of this manufactured fluff. It's nothing. I don't even. I think it's very bad that some young Americans are taken in by this, but ultimately, they're patriotic. They'll figure out. It just doesn't wash, and I wouldn't be impressed by it. But I think that I think this is a great moment. It's a pivot of history. And I think it'll sweep away everything else.
It's an incredible moment, and what you've led is extraordinary, sir. You didn't even discuss this with your wife.
Oh.
How is your family doing?
Well, my son I couldn't tell my son he was going to have a wedding. And it was scheduled 3 days after the attack, and I couldn't tell him that it's not going to happen. So, it's kind of amazing, but my wife has been a tremendous partner for me. I couldn't obviously tell her all the things, and spent 12 days in a different place. But she has been an extraordinary partner. And I always describe the story of one of our great spiritual leaders. We've had 3 or 4 eminent scholars and thinkers and rabbis in our history. In 3,000 years, 3,500 years. And one of them was named Rabbi Akiva, okay? This is the Roman period, that 2,000 years ago. And he was illiterate, okay? He was illiterate up to the age of 40. But he was lucky enough to marry his wife, Rachel. And she prompted him to learn to read and write. And at the age of 40, he learned how to read and write, and he became one of the greatest spiritual leaders of the Jewish people in thousands of years. And you know what he said? He said about Rachel, his wife, he said, what is mine is hers. Everything that is mine is hers. And that's what I say about my wife, Sarah. Everything that is mine is hers.
That's what my husband said to me on my wedding day.
He did well.
Israel and the United States share something very special. Not just that they are the world leaders in technology and in intel and all of the other great economic and intelligence and military advantages that they both share and they both have. They are the core leaders in the world of Western civilization. They represent, they embody the ideas of Western civilization, because ultimately, both Western civilization is premised on the principles, the ideas, the civilization that, as it's described in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, or what some call the Judeo-Christian tradition. In the same way that America was founded by our founding fathers, and the theme that undergirds it was a Christian understanding of the Hebrew Bible. The Hebrew Bible was the primary focus because of the fact that it talks about how to build a society, to build a civilization. And so that was the main focus. So it's we are not a Christian country in the sense that Christian law or theology is mandatory in our nation, but the culture is saturated with a Christian culture, with a Bible-centered culture. And similarly, in Israel, Israel is not a theocracy. It is called the Jewish state. It is a secular state as far as its governance is concerned, primarily. Zionism was not formed as a religious institution, but what guides it as a secular society, as a secular governing force, what molds its culture is the Jewish tradition. And so they are the world leaders of the Judeo-Christian ethic, which is what undergirds Western civilization. And so the United States and Israel do share a common bond that goes deeper than all of the externalities, technology and so forth. They share a soul bond together. And this is something that I think the more we appreciate and the more we delve into what that actually means, I think that there's tremendous success ahead, both for the United States and for Israel. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.